What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex. I'm once again joined by the one, the only Evan. Thank you again so much for coming. I know a lot of people had a lot of great things to say about our first collaboration. I thought this would be a really, really fun thing to do. We both cover Marvel's Avengers. Obviously, we both played the beta. We're both going to continue playing it, the base game, all that kind of stuff. So again, thank you so much for joining me again.
Thank you so much for having me, Alex. It was a true pleasure to collaborate with you last time with Miles Morales, and now talking about Avengers is surely going to be an entertaining experience.
Yeah, definitely a change of pace. I think, and to start this off, so let's first talk about basically I think Evan and I both have talked about the beta. He had an actual full review, and I'll leave all his stuff in the description so you guys can check it out. He reviewed it. I talked about the things that did good, the things that did bad. So we both covered it, okay? We both have good things to say, bad things to say. We both get that there is criticism of negative things to say. There's criticism of positive things to say. So in this video, we're going to talk about, okay, beta, what we thought of it. What does the base game need to improve from it, if it's even possible? Sometimes things in betas can't ultimately be fixed. But again, to kind of start it out, we get that there's definitely, I think, a fraction, actually a fracture in this fan base in general. So Evan, again, you made a video, reviewing this. What did you, maybe just to give people that didn't see that, what'd you think about it? And if you had to pick like a couple things, what would you say were the weaknesses? And then how do you if you think it's possible, do you think that they could be fixed in the base game?
So we first have to understand exactly what type of game Avengers is, where it's obviously not in the similar scope of the Batman Arkham games or Spider-Man PS4, where it's a fully single-player, narrative-driven experience, but rather it's trying to embody everything that makes Marvel great within the realm of continuously added content in a live service style, while also including looter, shooter elements that we know from other live service games like that of Destiny and Anthem. And in a sense, that could be really, really fun. That's just the type of game it is. That's just what we have to accept of what type of style Marvel's Avengers is going to be and what it will become years on with added regions, characters, and new missions to partake in. But if it's not executed properly and can engage players at launch with a fully well-layered combat system, thorough story, and encapsulating mechanics that will drive players back to play the game for months on end, for weeks on end, for maybe years on end, then it's not going to stand all that well on its own couple weeks after launch if they can't drag in players directly on release. So for what I experienced in the beta, of course, one of the main flaws that I think we all saw for playing on the PS4 version of the beta, at least, was the massive frame rate drops that occurred when either playing in single player missions or even online. Since this is going to be a live service multiplayer looter combat focused game, you need to have solid internet connections to try and hone those skills with your friends that you team up online, or even if you play it by yourself in these Warzone missions that have range of enemies to try and take out. The frame rate needs to be solid enough to keep up with all the action, all the enemies on screen, the different Avengers using their powers, the environments and their effects going around. So there's a lot that needs to be fixed, at least with that visually and technically in terms of the frame rate. Now, we talked about this before the video, but granted that both of the Avengers games on PlayStation and Xbox are going to be on the next-gen versions as well, on PS5 and Series X. So maybe they might run better on the next-gen consoles, but still, they need to run just as good on the current-gen consoles, even better, just as well as they would on next-gen. So hopefully, as one aspect, that could be another one that I really hope that they improve upon. And mainly for me, since I did play a lot of it solo, and I did do a few missions co-op, but I really hope the companion AI is improved. When you have these Avengers on your side, defeating enemies and trying to explore these hub worlds, if you're not playing with friends, it won't feel as fun. And unlike Ultimate Alliance, you can control what the AI does on your team. They can defend, they can attack, they can take out certain enemies in certain ways. This, nothing at all. They just do whatever they want, and they just randomly explore the areas without any input from you, the player. And it makes it feel a bit disconnected as the Avengers, a team that's supposed to unite together and take out enemies simultaneously as a unit. And if they're disbanded across these hub worlds and that Hulk's over there and Black Widow's on the other side of the map and Iron Man's right above you and you're just taking out enemies as Kamala Khan, there's no connectiveness with these characters. There's no solidification with the bond they have. The AI is disjointed from the main experience. So I really hope they can try and hone that better and make it improve come the final game.
Absolutely, and so I've come up with a few things, and I really do agree with you. The frame rate, some of the visuals actually did surprise me that they looked better than I thought. But for the most part, when you were getting into the action, there was a lot of explosion, lots of enemies. The game couldn't handle it. Now that's a beta. Could it be fixed with the base game? I lump the frame rate, the graphics thing. Hopefully, I honestly do lump that into a category where it should be fixable. If it's not fixable, if it's not fixed in the base game, that's their fault. But it's definitely a fixable thing. For me, it was the camera. I know I had people in the comments when I said some of the things I did wrong. I mentioned the camera, and people did not like that. Ultimately, I just thought the camera was not very good. But again, I think it's something that could be fixed. What Evan said, I want to address really fast because I completely agree, and then I'm going to throw something else at you, Evan. The AI, you're completely right. I played a mission. I don't have it captured, so I can't even show you guys what it was, but it was the whatever that huge the mech boss was, the massive robot. It was that. I was playing with one other person online, and the two AI, or the two other Avengers, were AI. And they literally, at halfway through the fight, they stopped fighting. They got caught underneath it or whatever. They weren't even caught, but they literally were not helping me at all. And then my friend, whoever was playing with me online, he died. So it was just me, and I beat the boss, but it took me 40 minutes because it was literally just me doing damage. So I completely agree. I think this game is literally, and I said this before, it's at its best when you're playing with friends. I think it's actually, I think the goal of playing with your friends or being the Avengers together, it reaches that the best it possibly can when you are playing with 3 other people, okay? You and 3 others. I think it absolutely nails it. When the AI does it, I don't know, like you said, Evan, they have, maybe you can fix that. I hope that's something that can be fixable. Obviously, they're not going to randomly give you the ability to control them or tell them what to do, but at least making them a little bit smarter, maybe following you around a little bit more, because sometimes they don't do that. But I completely agree with that, because I think ultimately when you're facing everybody together, the game is the most fun. Here's what I want to ask you, Evan. So this game, and we talked about it before, it is kind of what it is, right? This game is playing it over and over again. Now, for me, I can tell you honestly, I think the thing that would keep me in this game is just constantly adding stuff to it, okay? When it comes down to playing the stuff over and over and constantly getting better loot, I completely recognize that it works for some people. I really do, because people still play Destiny. It's such a popular game. Anthem, I mean, it's had its issues, but look, it's still around. These games work because of the people that are playing them. It works. For this game, for a kind of player that I am, doing the same thing over and over, getting the loot, maybe playing as the different Avengers, maybe that can help me out. Maybe doing the skills can help me out and keep me in it. But for me, I feel like the only thing the game can do to keep me going in it after the first couple weeks, of course I'm going to play it a ton the first couple weeks, is just adding additional content, which we know it's going to do. Wonder how, often they're going to do it. But so my question to you, Evan, is when you look yourself in the mirror, okay, every morning when you look in the mirror and you say to yourself, and you're really honest and you say, okay, after you're going to play it, of course, make the videos, have the content, all that stuff, what do you think this game needs to do in order to keep you playing it for weeks and weeks and weeks, on?
Sure. And that's very interesting because of the draw of it, where, of course, people are going to be intrigued with gameplay and combat and the story. But why are we all buying this game in the first place? Marvel, the Avengers, these characters. We love these characters and the stories that are revolving around these heroes, showcasing how special each of them are. And that's what, luckily, they've said already is what I'm intrigued in the most, is the added characters for free, no cost. So luckily, you don't have to pay for any single one. That the main core aspect of the game will be added upon as we go after launch for no cost. So we have Hawkeye as one of the revealed characters. We obviously have Spider-Man exclusive for PlayStation. We'll most likely get other major Marvel characters like Black Panther, Doctor Strange, Captain Marvel, Scarlet Witch, Vision, Falcon, all these heroes. And the stories that make them the heroes that they are is what, for me personally, drives me in the most. I don't care that I'm going into an aim base defeating these robots and the Dreadbot that we all have to take down at once in these giant destructible environments. That's not what draws me into play the game. It's the story purpose as to why we're doing it. Why are the Avengers taking out AIM? Where does this go after we take out AIM and MODOK? What other villains are going to be included in the story that the Avengers have to face against? Are we going to go after like the Skrulls, Hydra, maybe like the Serpent Society, maybe some intergalactic threats more, like maybe Thanos? Probably not, because that's heavily MCU based. But with this, they're clearly doing a lot to try and differentiate it from the films in their own unique Marvel way for this game's world. And that's why the combat is going to be such an interesting factor where you can get more upgrades to try and improve your move set to get different ways to take out enemies as the characters. There's going to be co-op play, like you said earlier, with your friends. That's the biggest drawing factor of it, to team up with a brand new group of friends as each different Avenger, take out these bases and have a different experience every time. But for me personally, if the story doesn't live up to snuff, if the narrative doesn't fully grab me in this Marvel world and shows exactly what makes each hero so special and so unique in the first place, so iconic, and what makes them all relatable to us as the audience, then it'll just seem like another random looter shooter game. Whereas Destiny, the main draw of that, why people kept playing it instead of Anthem, is because the gameplay. The gameplay was fun, and it did have added story content, but the gameplay loop with combat and shooting and traversing with areas with friends was very entertaining. Anthem less so, and we saw how badly that game flopped because there was little to no content. Gameplay was super repetitive, and everything they did in the game can be just summed up in like, just destroy everything and then move on. And that's kind of what I got with the beta for Avengers, but knowing the end game of what's going on, knowing that there's more story, knowing that there's more heroes, knowing that there's more regions and areas to explore within the Marvel world, maybe Wakanda, maybe some cosmic realms, maybe other cities in the Marvel universe, and how that could fare is what draws me in the most as a Marvel fan. And seeing how that could go on for years to come is really exciting. That is a really cool factor, that they are trying to make you play this for years on end, and knowing that we'll get even more content down the line is pretty cool to know. But if that content isn't sufficient enough, if it's not intriguing or engaging enough for a player to try and dive into, and they just keep doing the same repetitive combat missions and overall narrative structure that we saw in the beta with these war zones and drop zones and villain sectors and threat sectors, then it will get old really, really fast. And I just hope, as a fan myself, and as you as a fan, Alex, I'm sure, like, we don't want that to end. We want to keep playing this game because we truly care about these characters. And if it does manage to secure that in a great way, then I think we are going to have a really good product. I would say maybe a few months or a year after launch. But at launch, it still needs to have that same amount of intrigue that we expect from a AAA Marvel game.
Absolutely, and that's the thing, right? Because they want us to play this game long term. I want to play this game long term. I really do. And I play a lot of different games on the channel. Even you cover a lot of different things. Whether it be like a personal, like you just have time at night to play this game, or whether you really want to do it. They want us to play this game for a very long time. I want to play this game for a long time. But at the end of the day, there's a lot of other games. There's other things just outside of video games in general. And when it comes down to it, if we go back to the topic of the beta, okay, I think when it boils down to it, A-Day really surprised me. I watched your video and we talked about this before. Like, we actually were pretty surprised in how good A-Day was. We've both seen the trailer, or the gameplay presentation so many times, and yet it was really, I had a lot of fun. I didn't expect it. I honestly expected it to be a bore, like getting through it, like having, because not a lot of people I think knew going in, you had to play like 2-ish hours of this game before you could do multiplayer, or the beta before you could do multiplayer. So I thought it was going to kind of be like, oh, I'm going to force myself to go through it. A-Day was really good. When we talk about what the game needs to fix, honestly, it's tough because I've said it before. The game is what the game is, and you can only change so much. If it's not for you, it's not, all these kind of things where it's very much up to the person. I mean, you and me have both seen people online saying, you know what, I got bored after the first beta weekend, which, by the way, is not a good sign. However, to not discredit those that said they enjoyed it, people said they enjoyed it, and that's great. Ultimately, again, I mean, it just ends up being whatever you think it is. When this game comes out, though, it needs a whole lot more A-Day stuff, right? Those missions need to hold on to you, and then the gameplay really does need to come in, because like you said, Evan, and like I've said, when it comes down to it, playing the same thing over and over, that's just, for me, that's not for me. Now, you could say, well, Alex, then you should just not cover this game, right? Evan, you shouldn't cover this game. It's not for you. But, I do want to see it through. I want to see it through. I want to see a good game. But at the end of the day, if I play it through, I play all the missions, all the story missions, they're great, but then they're done. And maybe replaying them just isn't as much fun. The war zones and drop zones just don't get me. I feel like I'm doing the same thing over and over. Well, really, then all I'm waiting for is the additional content, which is fine because they've promised additional content. But at the same time, when that happens, it's only those additional times. You've seen with even Predator Hunting Grounds, if you guys have seen my stuff on that, sure, the updates are fun and the DLC every month is fun. It's fun for like 2 days, at least for me. Some people may be able to get a lot more out of that. But for me, I jump in, play it a couple days when the update, and then I leave, because at the end of the day, it kind of goes back to being the same thing. Now for Avengers, you're getting new characters, new skills, like Evan said, new missions that kind of go, tells their story. So that can hold on to this game a little bit. But I don't know. I've said it before. I'm worried about this game. At the same time, I am surprised in a good way by the beta. I did overall like it. I am excited for day one, to play this game day one when it actually, formally releases and we get to do everything. But I don't know. I'm just a little worried that eventually the gameplay loop, doing it over and over again, is going to get old, and I don't think they can fix that. So, Evan, do you have any last fixes, any last comments on the beta or the release in general?
I would just say that we've never seen a game like this before, right? At least in terms of Marvel. Like, this is truly what they keep saying, an ambitious project. And that's true. That is true that we've never seen anything of this magnitude before be attempted for a superhero game in this live service model. So while it is a big task for them to take on, and they obviously do care, they're not trying to just rub you off for money and that's it. No, there's a lot of dynamics. I just want Montreal, Marvel Games, and Square Enix. They do care about these characters, because if they didn't, then obviously we would be able to tell in a heartbeat. But if they were trying to engage us more in the story just for a, monetization purpose, we could tell. But they clearly do want to try and deliver a dream superhero game, a truly innovative and original Marvel Games experience. That's what they've been saying, and that's what they're trying to attempt with what we've seen in the beta and what we're going to see in this story. And of course, it's a lot to live up to, at least narrative-wise, from the larger MCU and the wider history of comics. They're trying to do their own thing, which is going to be very interesting to see how that's played out. But of course, it's going to be a lot of fun to play with friends. It's going to be a lot of fun to even play online with random people and seeing how those experiences pan out. Trying to upgrade each character to get new moves. That'll be fun. Trying to flesh out their play style. You can be a support hero, try and back up your friends during these Warzone missions, or be an assault hero, try and get more powerful and on the offensive side. So you can tailor your character in any different way with the upgrades. Gear system, less so, since it's not really a cosmetic thing. It's just about getting these stat increases for your character. So hopefully they can kind of make that a bit more layered and feel actually important to the customization system and upgrade system the game will have. But if it can actually convince me at launch that the final product that they make at September 1st, September 4th, is truly going to be an even better game down the line with other heroes add on, with the base game actually delivering a solid experience, then I'll be sold. But if the final game in September comes out, felt a bit lackluster, there was a lot of content lacking, and I'll just wait, for example, until Spider-Man comes out in 2021 or who else is added down the line, then that won't be the best reception that I would have for this game. And many others as well, if that gameplay loop doesn't sell them at launch. Because we've seen stories before of these games. At launch, they don't do too well, and then later on, lo and behold, they're actually great games when they add all the new stuff. So I just hope that it doesn't follow into that same pattern and instead can overcome that trope and truly become a great Marvel game at launch and an even better one down the line.
Absolutely. Well said. Yeah, some games fall into that where, years down the line, they're amazing games, and you look back and you say, well, they had something, at launch, but it didn't really become fully realized until they added to it. Honestly, this game kind of does seem like it could be like that. Hopefully, it doesn't. So, guys, let us know in the comments below. What do you think? Are you excited for this game? What do you think the game needs to fix from the beta? All those thoughts, let us know. As always, make sure you guys are subscribed here on Podcast Now. Hit the bell icon so you guys know when all these videos go up. Again, if you guys haven't subscribed to Evan, go in the description below, have all the stuff. Obviously, you can just look them up on YouTube as well. Evan, thank you so much for joining me yet again, talking about, obviously, in this case, a little bit more controversial of a topic.
No problem, Alex. It's been my genuine pleasure, because we obviously want the best for this game. Just to make that clear for everyone, we're not trying to hate it. We're not trying to disown it. We're not trying to even take your excitement away from it. If you think this is going to be Game of the Year 2020, your most hyped game of all time, that's excellent. I'm so happy you feel that way. We're not trying to take that away from you at all. We're just providing our open and honest thoughts about the game, how we think they can improve upon it even further, because as fans ourselves, we want it to be the best possible game it can become. And if they decide to polish on the factors that we brought up and any other things that other people are pointing out, then we could have truly a one-of-a-kind Marvel game. And that is literally all I'm hoping for as a fan and as a gamer for this product.
Very well said. So, guys, let us know your thoughts. Let us know if you want to see me do more collaborations with Evan, with other people. Let me know, and we will see you guys on the next video.